My name's Aaron. I'm the co-founder, the managing director here at BWG Connect. We're a giant networking and knowledge sharing group, thousands of brands. I kicked this off 8 years ago with this idea that brands would love the opportunity to network together to kind of brainstorm on the biggest topics they were solving for, but also help each other out. And hey, who's the best people out there that can help you? Everything from Amazon direct to consumer to international, whatever it might be in the digital space. And so I spend the majority of my time talking with brands. I try to talk to 20 to 30 a week. And it's through those conversations that I'm pinging everybody and saying, hey, what would you love for us to cover on the next webinar? We'll do a couple hundred of these this year. Or what are we going to do at a dinner? What's the best topic? And the other thing I'm doing at those during this, I don't know, one-on-one conversations we're having is just saying, hey, who's really helping you out? Who are the leaders in the space? Who do you love as a partner? And so when the same partners come up over and over again, we invite them on to share as a whole. And so for you, those of you who've been on before, I mean, the team over at Blue Wheel has been fantastic. They've been great friends, partners, supporters of the network for years now, and a ton of brands in it. Everything from Amazon, direct consumer, paid search, social, all that fun stuff. And so this topic, when it came up, we just kind of reached out and said, hey, this would be a great topic to cover. I don't think anybody's surprised that AI is coming up. People are thinking about how it's going to affect paid media as a whole. And so this is how we got to how AI and emerging platforms are rewriting the paid media playbook. So today, a couple other things. We're going to try to wrap up right at the end of the hour here. So just before 1 p.m. Eastern time. The other thing is drop as many questions as you have along the way in the Q&A section, and we'll get as many of those answered as possible. But Brett, I'll kick it over to you. You want to jump in, a brief intro yourself, Blue Wheel? That'd be awesome.
Sure.
Then kick it to Jeff, and we'll have a fun conversation here.
Great. So, hello everyone. My name is Brett Gieser. I'm the head of DSC at Blue Wheel. I have over 15 years of digital media experience working on large holding company agencies such as WPP and Publicis, and working on the brand side for Sears and Kmart. So, I geek out about performance media. I love how this industry is evolving and utilizing a lot of AI tools. So, I'm very excited to speak today. So, I'll pass it off to Jeff.
Hey everyone, I'm Jeff Anderson. I'm the performance marketing lead here at Weber, which basically covers all things paid media, our brand paid media and performance media, as well as retail media, affiliate marketing, and SEO. I've been at Weber for about 2 years, a little over 2 years. And prior to that was in the agency space for a long time. That's how I know Brett. We go way back in the industry. But yeah, I felt compelled to bring a brand side perspective here today because I feel like a lot of the challenges our brand is going through, a lot of other brands are going through, especially as it relates to technology and AI. So excited to chat about all of that and answer any questions you have.
Yeah. Awesome. So that quick reminder is drop any questions, comments you have along the way in the Q&A section there, and we'll get to them. But Brett, like I'll kind of kick it over to you.
Yeah,
We can kind of kick off the
yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, so just a little quick intro about Blue Whale. We're an omni-channel agency supporting brands through marketplace management and performance media. We can scale. We have managed over $1 billion in revenue for our clients. And again, this is something that is our bread and butter from Amazon Marketplace to performance media. So just a little something about Blue Whale today. And just again, as mentioned, uh, we're a growth engine behind over $2 billion in commerce revenue. We have partners with so many brands from beauty to in the D2C space to CPG brands. So again, we're very well versed in the space and we have expertise across many verticals from paid media to analytics. So again, very nice to be speaking today. So today we'll be speaking about, AI, emerging platforms, and how they're rewriting the media playbook. And we want to cover three main topics. One is the consumer journey. Second is the AI utilization across multiple media channels, and the evolution of platforms and media from analytics. So I'll kick it off. Again, we want to make this very conversational. So please, if you have questions, we're happy to answer them, and we can go from there. So, first and foremost, Jeff and we've been talking about the consumer journey, and it's no longer a funnel. It is no longer linear. And again, it's important that brands are active across all phases of the journey, an omni-channel approach, and we're able to track performance across a very fluid, dynamic journey these days. The path of purchase has become shorter, and sometimes it has even expedited in terms of product purchasing regarding bigger, large scale products versus short-term products. So Jeff, I want to talk to you a little bit about your experience with the funnel and how you think things have changed, and we can go from there.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, as you can imagine, for any big ticket purchase like a grill, that costs anywhere from like a couple $100 to a couple $1,000. I mean, generally consumers are taking their time to make that kind of a decision before they purchase and going through a lot of different stages. And by the way, those stages are pretty fluid, right? I think it can go back and forth for all the way from, I'm researching in a new category that I'm not familiar with, like maybe pellet grills, versus maybe somebody is more familiar with charcoal grill cooking, and they know a little bit more about it and the features that are available. And it's really just more about like price points and availability and things like that. So when you factor all of those things in, I mean, I think that the way that technology and AI has helped consumers move faster through that process, that decision-making process, but also become more confident and find a destination very quickly, whether it's, an Amazon or a Walmart or a D2C property buying direct from the brand. Um, that value proposition's really got to be front and center at every stage so that you're reminding consumers along the way why your brand should be in the consideration set, moving all the way down the funnel. And that I know that varies from industry to industry, but that's really what we found in ours is, there's this acceleration happening. Things are moving faster, and it's really important to pay attention to those signals that are influencing people to make those purchases. And that's really what we've challenged our partners with, whether it be media partners or data technology partners, gaining intelligence. What are consumers doing? What are some of the signals that the media platforms are using to, whether it be like, serve some of our ads in front of really distinct, unique audiences that maybe we're not accustomed to talking to, or maybe more of our bread and butter, more well-known loyalists who are aware of our brand, aware of the products that we offer. And really it just comes down to helping them understand, like, when we have new products coming out, what's different about these new products, what's the value prop again, how is this different from what else is available in the marketplace.
You mentioned like that consumer confidence in making a purchase. And I tie that, just if I do me search, is around, if I'm doing it on a Google, so if we think about the AI aspect or the new LLMs that are coming, if I'm Google, I'm doing a lot of research because of what the results and how they show up, as opposed to a chat GPT where it's almost aggregating everyone. It's not almost, it is. It's aggregating all of it and it's trimming down the selection. And I'm saying, okay, ChatGPT, you've filtered out all the garbage and you've given me what's left. And now I'm making a more confident person purchase, and it shortens that, I think, marketing life cycle. Are you seeing anything
Well,
like that, or is this just all me search?
no, I think you're definitely right, Aaron. I think the AI technology has shortened the consumer touch points. The consumer journey, the path of purchase is a lot shorter and a lot faster from a lot of brands that I'm seeing. And again, it's really important that we're having a positive experience across the phases in the journey and making sure the messaging aligns to where they are, and potentially engaging them with them from consideration phase to conversion phase, or they're at the conversion phase and they become loyalty members as soon as they make that purchase. It's extremely important with the AI technology that the consumer is getting smarter, and as the consumer is getting smarter, the brands and agencies have to be there in the space and adapting to the new dynamic where the consumer has significant power, and they have they hold the purse strings, and we have to make sure that our message and our product resonates with them, so then we can provide, stronger performance for our brands. I know, Jeff, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it bridges into a topic that we talk about all the time here internally, which is like our content and how that exists in various forms across various different platforms, whether it be social, retail marketplaces, ratings and reviews, all of that good stuff. Because going back to like whether it's Claude or like ChatGPT, they're distilling all of this information down at a very fundamental, concise level and serving it up in a way that really nudges the consumer in a direction, right? And that can either work for your brand or against your brand. And that's where the content comes into play. You can see the different buckets here, and we've talked about how there's the funnel isn't really linear anymore, but there's still the elements of the funnel are still important when you think about content. We work really closely with our PR team because what's really important to us is making sure that when it comes to getting reviews from whether it be like very well respected trade publications or even like more broader reaching news publications, and they're reviewing our products, making sure that like those things are like visible and they're discoverable within these like AI engines, or just like working with them on what are some of, especially with our newer products, what are some of the differentiating points, what are some of the things that make these products unique and different, so that as AI tools are scraping this content and serving this up to consumers, that stuff is embedded in there somewhere, right? And then they're
Yep.
getting some of these key themes that we want the consumers to take away about quality and innovation in our products, how long they last, so on and so forth. So that's where like you really find that, especially within our marketing team, we have different practices within that, but we really all work together on this.
Yeah, and I think like with SEO and digital PR are playing a bigger role than they had but been in the past. Where again, you have Perplexity, ChatGPT, Claude AI. These these products are, scraping the site and for third-party verification sites, trade publications on verified sources, and you want to ensure that, again, hopefully your brand is showing up and populating for the consumer to influence their decision and their purchasing journey. And I think that's important for all media planning, where again you take an omni-channel approach where you're not looking just at paid media, you're looking at organic, you're looking at digital PR, things that previously when you're just focusing on paid, sometimes that gets left to the side. So again, it's very important that you're including multiple platforms and channels to ensure that, again, your content's resonating with the consumer.
I mean, content is huge. I have a
Yeah.
couple questions, and I'm going to come back to content. First of all, first question is around, hey, will this recording be available? 100%. We'll make this available. We'll post it on YouTube. We'll make sure you get a copy of it. The other one is around, I've been hearing a lot about zero-click searches. Can we talk a little about that? And then the other piece is around, what I want to get to on the content side is we're asked to put out so much content. How do we test and learn? Like, can we do it before we push it out? Do we know enough? Do we have tools out there where we know enough about our audience that we can almost test it before we push it? And that's top of mind because you're talking about on the PR side and making sure what we put out in legacy brands, that's a huge thing, right? Is understanding what we're going to send out and if it's going to work, because they don't want to just test and learn.
Hmm.
Usually it's a legacy brand that's
Yeah.
more concerned. So zero-click searches, if we can talk about that a little bit. Again, others, you have questions, drop them in the Q&A and we'll get to them for sure.
Jeff, you want to
Yeah,
start
for
with
sure.
zero click?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, the rise of zero click searches, I mean, obviously can't be ignored. I mean, the data supports that, but I mean, I think for us, it really comes back to, regardless of whatever engine they're using, whatever AI tool their consumer is using, um, making sure that the consumer is getting the information they need to move farther along down the funnel, closer to a purchase, ideally for our brand, obviously. But we're a brand that our products are sold at retail. We have various retail partners. And so when it comes to attribution, that can be very, very difficult, right, to connect those dots. And I know there's a lot of tech partners out there that are starting to do that. I think it really just starts with coverage and understanding where is your brand showing up now, what's being said about your brand. Even in the forums, even in places like Reddit, where there's a lot of UGC content available, it's important to pay attention to that. You know, we have folks on our social team that are in charge of like community management, and that's a huge part of their role now, is just really understanding at a fundamental level, like what are the themes that are popping up in some of those like UGC places. And, you know, then for when it comes to AI, like what's being put in front of the consumer? Can we connect those dots, right? To then pull those themes all the way through and show, well, it's likely that these are the things that influence the purchase, whether it be like what I said before, the quality, the innovation, and even for some of our newer products that you know, folks are less aware of, we're less well known in the pellet grill space, for instance. So it's really important to us that when consumers are shopping in that space, they know, A, we have an offering, we have several pellet grills that we offer, and then B, they're just as good, if not better, than what's out there in the marketplace. So how do we tie that story together, make sure that when consumers are searching and they're getting those AI overviews, that content is embedded in there, and it at least has a chance to influence their decision, their purchase decision.
And Jeff, you mentioned something that's kind of resonated with me is, you know, how we're tracking and measurement. And obviously there's been last touch conversions, there's multi-touch attribution, there's media mix modeling. What is your preference in terms of measuring success across that entire that journey for the consumer? And how are you able to reallocate your investment to ensure that, again, your performance is not being deprecated or diminished by this new wave of searching, or just the way of people consuming media?
Yeah, if I had it my way, I would use all of the above, because I just have this firm belief that more intelligence is better than less, right? And
Mhm.
so, and I know people tend to get a little bit overwhelmed with all the data and data sources and things like that. I think it comes back to what are the business outcomes you're trying to solve for? Having like a really good internal scorecarding process that you're using to measure against those outcomes. And I mean, AI is a key part of that, right? Because
Yeah.
it helps you move towards those solutions. It can help you move towards those solutions faster, more effectively, more efficiently. And so I think it comes back to the basics a little bit, but using the technology to help you reach that intelligence a bit faster so that you can make
Yeah.
decisions faster.
You know, I'm a big fan of media mix modeling. However, I know there's a cost associated with that, and also a time investment as well, where the data is somewhat lagged based off the like basically previous quarters. And so, you know, we definitely use multi-touch attribution here at Blue Wheel. And how what but using AI, we're able to analyze the data faster and have insights for our clients that we're able to put into market very quickly, compared to waiting 3 months or 6 months down the line, for understanding the story. And then also, when you understand what's happening in the marketplace, we can adapt even quicker and have better performance. We've seen that a lot
Yeah.
with our clients, for brands that we're working with, that, you know, if we can analyze the data quicker with our AI tools, we can have an advantage in the marketplace and take advantage of, you know, in Q4, where it's, you know, it's the bread and butter for DNC, that a lot of clients, that's their year, those 3 months, where if we don't hit if we don't hit performance goals, that's their year's ruined. And again, I think utilizing the AI plus the attribution models that we're currently having implemented, it gives us an advantage over some of our competitors in the space.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think that AI has really benefited MMM. I don't want to say the most, but in a very significant way
Yeah.
when it comes to tools. Um, I've been a proponent of using marketing mix modeling here at Weber for a long time. We finally got it implemented this year. And we're just starting to get our hands dirty with it, but at the same time, what we're trying to do is not necessarily use it to solve like all of our problems in
Mhm.
terms of budgeting, investment strategy, and scenario planning and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's really just like looking at the challenge in different ways. I feel like that's what MMM is really good at. It helps you take all the data from all these sources, distill it down, and then powered through AI or some sort of like, you know, tech, proprietary tech, bring forth those insights and visuals that help you see things that you couldn't see before, and
Mhm.
things that will help your budget work smarter, not harder in the
Yes.
future at the end of the day.
Yes. Yes. Awesome. And I also want to address the question about like knowing performance before you put in a market. At Blue, we have actually, we're developing an AI testing lab. And there is one product that we're utilizing where we can put together the creative, the messaging, and have the AI tool analyze if it's going to resonate with the audience based off based off the human panelists that the technologies create off of, and will continue to learn. And this gives us a really strong advantage from a creative development, where we go back to our creatives and let them know that, hey, we just did a first round of revisions through this AI technology. It gave us some feedback on what we need to improve upon, and then we can then share it to the client of, this is our approach, this is our recommended creative that we're looking for your approval on, or what you think of. And so it can speed up the process from creation to activation. And it can go from, a 4 to 6 week timeline to down to 2 weeks, because we're utilizing AI tools, we're getting revisions faster and able to then put out to market. And we have a good understanding of what the performance is going to be. Additionally, we have another tool. Once it's in market, we can see what variations would work even better, if it's the message from a text or the image, and then we can go back to our creatives and develop new creative based off that insights, and go back to market. So again, there's some really cool tools out there that my agency is utilizing or developing themselves to really ensure that the performance is continuing to improve, even if we have a legacy client, or the creative, we might not get creative as update as frequent as we can to avoid fatigue. We're always putting new variations based off the insights we're seeing in real time.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I'll admit, like
Mm.
that brings up a challenge that I know our brand definitely feels, as well as a lot of others, which is content generation. I mean, especially in this brave new world of AI, as well as, how social is utilizing it as well, and Meta, TikTok, etc.
Yep.
It becomes very challenging to generate the creative required to um, improve results, improve performance. Um, it sometimes seems daunting. It seems like it's not sustainable, but having tools available to generate that at scale, where you can adjust a tagline, adjust a headline, adjust
Yeah.
something in the
Yeah.
image, make it
Yeah.
unique in some
All right.
way to test
Yeah.
those formats and figure out what's resonating and what's going to move the needle and make things a little bit more efficient.
Oh my gosh, it has definitely sped up the process from development to activation. And it's not replacing digital marketers. It's just doing their work faster, so
Yeah.
we can definitely drive greater performance. And at the end of the day, I think you and I, we come from a performance marketing background where we care about, how can we drive further performance with the same budget year over year, and what can we do with limited resources. We don't have unlimited resources, so we need to act smarter, and we need to harness the technology available to make sure that our clients or your brand is continuing to grow. Because obviously, if you're not growing in the market, you're you're gonna be surpassed by your competitors.
And it's going to
Yes.
happen, like really, I'm connecting some dots here just in the back end, but I think we're finally getting to the point where we can do it because a lot of times brands were pushing out content and looking how it resonated and then changing. And we've got a couple more questions that are coming here. We'll get to them. Two more that just popped in. And so you're creating content, but then you're doing your media mix modeling and your multi-touch attribution, whatever your measurement is on that content. But now we've always had these social media listening tools, but now we have the AI machine learning power to actually gather the insights, tell you how people out there in your target demographic, what they're looking for, the questions they're asking, the conversations they're having. So that can be crunched by AI now to kick out and guide the type of content you should be creating based on what the customer is looking for and asking about, right? And it could be done now item by item or item type, right? Charcoal versus pellet versus
Yeah.
gas, and then you can feed it into this testing and learning this pre-launch campaign so you don't spend 50,000, maybe you're only spending $4,000 or $5,000 to see if it's going to work, and then you actually get then a real-time read based on conversion of what's happening to feed back into this cycle over and over again.
Yeah.
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 And then
No,
also
exactly.
using and utilizing AI for, those insights as well and reporting purposes. So my teams are not focusing on doing weekly or monthly reporting, spending, 8, 10 hours a month, where it can cut down to 2 hours a month on reporting. So we can again focus on the media and what we're seeing in market and continue to optimize.
Yeah. I was gonna say like our business is fairly seasonal. I mean, we operate our peak season is generally like March, April-ish through kind of about now, July, August. And it's really important during our peak season that we move from planning to result very quickly. And we are iterating and moving the needle as fast as we can because when you boil it down that way, we really don't have a lot of time, right? It's just a few short months that consumers are out there in market for a grill, and it's really important that we figure out what's going to resonate with consumers sooner than later, and then take some action on that, right? And then show the results from that. And then at the end of the day, that will help planning for the next year be even that much better because now you're propping up your strategy with a process that is it's underpinned by this AI technology that can get you from A to B much faster than you used to go. It's kind of like what you were saying before, Brett, about not taking away anything that marketers are doing, just helping them move faster, think faster, act faster.
Yeah, because the consumers are acting the same way. So we need to keep
Exactly.
up. We need to keep pace. If we're not, we're going to lose ground. And if we lose ground, we're going to lose revenue. And when we lose revenue, the client, it's just a bad feedback all around.
Mhm.
Feedback loop.
Yeah. A couple questions that pop in here. The first one, how would you use AI currently within affiliate channels? And then the next one is how frequently should you adjust images, headlines, taglines? Let's tackle the first one. How do you use AI currently within affiliate channels? And others, if you have questions, drop them in the chat or drop them in the Q&A session here, and we'll make sure we get to them.
Uh, so I
Go
can't
go
see.
ahead, Brett.
I
I
was gonna
didn't want to
say,
cut you off.
yeah, I can't see you, Jeff. So sorry.
It's
Uh,
okay.
with affiliate marketing in particular, there are tools we're utilizing to vet potential influencers that can generate really strong content for us and would be a strong fit for our brand. And again, that gives us the opportunity to understand, okay, we have identified certain people or platforms that we believe is a good fit for our brand, and from there we're able to then develop relationships with them where we can then also take their content and utilize the same approach where we can put into our platforms that have the AI and see if that message is going to resonate with the consumer. So it's been really helpful in regards to will the affiliate message work, and identifying the affiliate that would be the best an influence would be the best approach to our brand.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say I've been a little um not to use too strong of a word, but underwhelmed in terms of the opportunity in for AI and affiliate marketing, I feel like is there, especially when you think about audience insights. I mean, that's really what I've
Mhm.
challenged our agency with in terms of getting to those deeper audience insights about who's interacting on these different publishers. How can we tie that back to our first party data and then potentially use AI for retargeting purposes and things like that? So I think there's a big opportunity for AI in affiliate marketing, and I'm sure there it's being worked on in the space. I just haven't seen it quite come to fruition yet.
And I mean, the technology as is not as mature as, you know, what we have been what we have are used to in the past with like with Google and their algorithms or Meta with their algorithms. Again, this technology is relatively new. We're talking 2.5 years old, and as the technology matures, so will the capabilities and applications of AI across a lot of different marketing channels.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing it the same as you are, Jeff, just in brands I'm talking to. It's more on the what's working and what's not, and who's creating it and what creative is out there, almost that social media listening type thing
Mhm.
to drive what should our content be. And then at that point in time, you jump it into, I mean, I'm looking at this slide here, the testing, the predictive targeting, the testing, the learning, the execution, and then listening, and then seeing what's working and then keep feeding it back in. Um, Next question that pops in, and others, if you have questions, drop in the Q&A here. How frequently should you adjust images, headlines, or taglines?
Uh, I would say so. It's a really tough question to answer because I think it's very dependent on your brand, your industry, your category that you're in. Um,
The
you
budget.
know, yeah, budget as well. I would say, for like a fast moving consumer good, that could be, a couple times a week. For, something that is a little bit slower moving, like maybe our products, grills, it might not be as fast. It might be a couple times within a month, right? It kind of just depends on where, because I know a lot of when it comes to a lot of the AI tools and how they optimize, and a lot of it's based on volume, right? And so the more volume that you can get and in front of these AI tools to make decisions, give them the signals to make decisions, the better output you're going to get from those tools.
I was going to add on to Jeff's point. It's definitely a variable decision in terms of when you should be updating your creative and images and text. Um, I have my teams look at creative performance on a weekly basis and build out trends so we can basically see, if click-through rate or engagement rate is declining. We understand the start of that, and then we can go back to our clients and say, hey, it looks like the creative fatigue is starting to set in. We need to implement. But again, it's all dependent on what Jeff has mentioned previously, that budget, time, and market. Um, um, and so again, it's very dependent.
Awesome. So, how are you addressing SEO within the LLMs?
I think a lot of it,
Or AEO, or I don't know what we call it now, like generative
yeah, there's a
GEO.
couple
I don't think
acronyms
Yeah.
now.
we've settled on something yet, but
Yeah.
so I'll just use
Um,
SEO for the LLMs.
Yeah, I would say a lot of it comes down to, especially what you read about in the trades and from key figures that study this stuff. It comes back to the basics, the fundamentals of managing your content, both on your own site or your own properties, as well as off-site and off-property. So, wherever content about your brand and your products is showing up, making sure that those basics are covered and they're discoverable, because the last thing you want is to do all it, have your team do all this hard work to generate this content, put it out there, and then it's not being discovered, right? It's not getting in front of the consumer at the key moment when they need it, whether it be in those AI overviews or in some other form in the AI tool as people are just chatting through. So I think it's just important to stick to the basics. But as this space evolves, I think there's more that can be done as it relates to things like metadata. Again, going back to making sure that your products are discoverable, all those technical things, making sure someone on your team has eyes on it, and
Yep.
B, is able to track it and show trends over time as you're putting out content. Because what you're going to want to do is draw those correlations when you're publishing content to whether it be brand mentions or share a voice within those AI overviews, something that you can trend over time that shows how effective your content is at achieving that being discovered.
And add on to what Jeff said about the basics, I think it's also important to identify the gaps in your content and what you're looking to achieve within SEO and in the AI space. Again, if we're trying to launch something brand new to market and maybe there's a competitor doing very well, how can we identify and resonate with that type of identifier, and how can we then produce content that will address that and will be um, scraped from the websites into the AI platforms?
Yeah, you brought up a great point about competition,
Michelle.
because it's for me half about where they are showing up, and then the other half is about where they're not showing up, the white space, which to me is the opportunity, right? So one of the things we look closely at is when our brand or products is mentioned are mentioned around grilling techniques or recipes, or really just like usage occasions,
Yeah,
and what is that conversation or what does that information look like, and really getting a grasp on, well, how do you want your brand to be a part of that? How do you want to show up? What are the types of content that you
yeah.
would want to share with someone when they're researching, whether it's pre-purchase or post-purchase? You have to think about really both scenarios and really guide them through to help them, keep, keep that brand connection, but also, continue to provide the information, the inspiration that the customer is looking for.
And I also think it's a balance between when you're producing content, what percentage is going to go towards driving towards paid traffic versus driving for organic and for a learning experience, and how you view traffic and the overall performance of your media. Are you strictly focused on lower funnel or ROAS, or are you looking at the whole consumer journey and from one touch point to the other and look at it from a long-term value perspective? And are you again finding gaps where, from pay media standpoint, this content doesn't produce the same type of return on investment that I expect, but we still need to have that content because there's a gap that we need to again educate our consumer. And if our consumer is not aware of what we can offer, again, that's where we start building out more content, and hopefully, these AI platforms pick that content up, and it can then continue to educate the consumer during their research or consideration phases.
Awesome. Still, if there's more questions, people keep dropping them in and we'll keep getting to them. Yeah, I was going to say, is there a lot of questions coming in? I don't know if we'll get to all the slides or not, but
I can go back. Let me
yeah,
know.
yeah. Oh, no, no, that's fine. I
No.
was just,
Okay.
I didn't know if there was more.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, awesome.
So again, platforms are constantly evolving. Their technology is becoming more mature. Google has had bidding algorithms for the past 10 plus years. Meta's Advantage Plus has really taken over and has improved performance of our current evergreen programs. Again, it's very important that, again, when you are putting together a media plan, you take a very omni-channel approach and have a consistent, seamless delivery across those touch points, so the consumer understands your brand, understands what you're offering, and feels comfortable making those purchases. And the AI technology is now capturing people who are in market, who have shown some type of interest, or just generally they know your behavior and can show you or display an ad that can really resonate with you. Jeff, what are your thoughts on some of the platforms AI, and how are you trying to utilize it, test it, feel comfortable utilizing it?
Yeah. First off, I mean, you're right. I mean, we've been through, a lot in the past 10 plus years in terms of changes in the industry. This tech changes are nothing new. They're going to continue to happen. And so at this moment in time, as we take a snapshot of like what are the offerings across all these platforms and
Mhm.
how do you use them? I mean, for us, it really comes back to you as a brand and your own voice, your own organic presence. You really need to nail that first, because in a lot of ways it makes paid a lot easier, because then all you're using are the paid tools to sort of amplify that and share that with new audiences in new ways, right? So I think if you come back to, let's get the basics right first. Let's start with our own brand voice. And what are the things that, if we talk about this, if our brand was a person, what would the brand say, right, about our products? How would they talk about our products? That kind of thing. So we try to start there first. And, then as you dig into the platforms, and these are the questions that I get a lot, which are, what's available? What could we do what can we test that might move the needle for particular types of content or particular types of messages or themes, content themes, that kind of thing. Those are the things that we can nail down a little bit faster, because when we've got the messaging strategy and the communication strategy and that approach nailed down first, everything else is sort of layered up and sort of added and amplified with that paid presence that these tools make, honestly, so not just easy, but make it fast to
Mhm.
get these creatives in market, get insights, iterate,
Yeah.
test and learn
Yeah.
very fast, much faster than we could years ago.
I think at Blue Whale, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with, going back to the basics, where we want to use this AI technology to drive performance, but it's not a set and forget type of methodology that we use. We're constantly looking at the data. We're constantly innovating and see what can we do to improve or challenge the AI technology to, again, make sure that we are getting the best return on our investment for our clients. Um, there's been, I'm very very big on an advocate on human intelligence and having a combination between AI technology and human intelligence and blend that together where, again, this technology is not as mature as we would like it to be. It's becoming that way. But again, you need to have some type of oversight, looking at performance, looking at what we strategies that we could be implementing and challenging the AI technology to become better and learn from it. So what we're expecting is the norm. Um, I've had an experience a couple years ago where we have utilized some of the AI creative technology for one of our media platforms, and this is for a high-end appliance um, company, and the creative that it produced was a cat in a burrito in a microwave, and that's not the best consumer experience. It's definitely not the best way for our brand to be in go to market. And so again, the technology's relatively new. We need to have oversight. My teams constantly look at the creative being produced and what's being recommended, and not just letting a blind eye and selecting a checkbox on a Google or a Meta and letting it run. We need to make sure that there is some type of supervision to ensure that performance does not decrease.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's for us, it comes back to, we protect our brand very, very closely. It's obviously a legacy brand. We've been in business for over 70 years. So the last thing we would want any of these tools to do is um, endanger that in any way. And so we do go, especially when it comes to creative, we do a healthy bit of testing to make sure that the tools have some guardrails and there are some boundaries there that they're working within. Because the last thing I want to do is get a call from my legal team about why, they're seeing some specific creative that they're seeing that isn't, legally compliant, right? And so
Yeah.
we have to think that way and act that way as we're enabling any test and learn plan.
There's a great question that comes in here from Kirsten. And how do you explain what you just said to difficult clients? I think, Brett, it was while you were talking, but I think, Jeff, you were answering at the same time as, especially from Brett, from your side, because you're an agency going in with all these great ideas. Jeff, you're internally the champion that's like, yes, we need to do this. What is the communication upward to say, like, if we don't start experimenting with this or full on adopting it, we are going to be, obviously, with, like you were saying, the human intelligence guardrails, right? Like, we're in a checkpoint. We're going to be left behind, because if you are not using these tools, if you're not using AI in this fashion, it doesn't seem like you'll be left behind, but AI is adapting and getting so much better day over day so quickly that you'll be left behind within 6 months. So how do you explain it? Like, how do you get management team on board to say, and especially, from a branded side, we don't, we highly protect our brand. We don't want any of this going out, but you have to use it somehow.
I can
Yeah,
start.
go ahead.
No, first is a performance related response where what the predictive performance will be with or without the tool, and that sometimes resonates with the CFO of some brands where they look at the return of our media investment. Additionally, when we talk about brand safety, these channels are coming out with more preview tools of what we to expect from a creative standpoint, from a messaging standpoint, and to ensure that it's on mark, and we can share that information with the client so they feel comfortable with some of the recommendations being produced by the AI technology. And so when you start building that trust up, I think of things of doing things in increments, because this is a big change. So if we can make one small change at a time and test that, and if that works, expand and scale, and that usually helps my clients adopt things at a faster approach than something very brand new that could or could not be work. I know, Jeff, what are your
Yeah, yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah, I think it depends on the specific challenge as well as the audience, who you are trying to which challenge you're trying to address for which audience, essentially. And so I mentioned legal before. There's other internal business stakeholders that may need to review things. And so whether it be creative or different elements of where our media shows up, and how the AI tools are sort of like taking the reins, so to speak, on that. It's a bit of risk versus reward, right? And so you need to have the conversation of, a lot of these platforms using AI now, they have a lot of forecasting built into them, scenario planning built into them. If you spend X this way, you'll get Y, right? And so, and not that those are hard numbers, but just using them as estimates, as a guide to, guide that conversation and help them understand, like, look, this is why we're trying to do this. There's a reward, but let's go through the risks. And if we can't control all the risks, let's go through what we can control. And if it's not worth the reward, then we can't do it, right? Let's
Yeah,
all agree that we can't do it. And so, I think it's an ongoing conversation, because again, like we have talks with our media partners all the time about this. The Metas of the world, the Googles of the world, that they're improving in these areas too, to address these concerns by brands.
yep.
And so them being proactive in doing that always helps. But I don't know if you'd ever get to a place where you could completely take your hands off the wheel and
Yep.
let it go. There always needs to be that human element around to evaluate the tools to make sure they're still reaching the objectives and getting the outcomes that you expect.
And these platforms have scorecards, and sometimes you see the scorecards that are like 33 out of 100, and you're like, well, our performance in this channel is really, really great. There are some limitations where, again, we need to ensure that from the safety of our brand that this is the correct approach. And so when you get scorecards from these partners, you have sometimes have to take it with a grain of salt, where again, is this recommendation right for my brand or for myself? And if it's not, we have those conversations and open transparency with the clients, like we can't do this because of X, Y, and Z. But that shouldn't affect the overall performance that we're seeing and affect the scorecard. And that also leads into another conversation about, test to win versus test to learn. And again, you want to make sure that from a test to win perspective, you have covered all your bases. You feel comfortable with the technology that you're going to be implementing and utilizing, that variable that compared to something that from testing X versus Y versus a test to win where you're just solely looking at performance and you are willing to take stronger risk, a bigger risk. So those are kind of the key factors in terms of the decision making that we have to answer before bringing those ideas or proposals to our clients.
Yeah. And I know we're getting close here to the end. You had a key takeaway slide. I saw that
Yeah,
earlier. If we want to, maybe we jump to that, and then between you and Jeff, we can get some key takeaways, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
sure. So, I mean, from the slides that we went over, um, there was three major key takeaways, key points that I really wanted to address, and making sure that brands have an omni-channel approach when it comes to paid media because the consumer behavior has changed and we need to keep up with that. Second, AI is the future, is not the future, I'm sorry. It's here to stay, and we need to start utilizing tools to drive performance. And then obviously app platforms are continuing to evolve and change. And again, we need to be hands-on keyboard. We need to understand what is happening and how we need to address to follow best practices and oversight to drive, you know, current performance for our brands.
Yeah, I mean, I love AI it's not the future. It's
Yeah.
now. It's
Yeah.
literally here now. Like you have to use it. We can't say, "Oh, this is something we're going to get to someday." You have to start utilizing it right now because it's here. It's the present. Yeah, Jeff, I'd love key thoughts as we wrap this up here. This has been a fun conversation.
Yeah, sure. It really has. Yeah, I would just say, one of the things I try to do internally here is just educate and lead, right? And so when it comes to these developing technologies, just educate yourself, be a sponge, soak up as much information as you can, whether it be from, your external partners that you're working with, the media partners directly, and really lead and guide the conversation internally, show on a practical level how some of these tools can work and improve business results, but then also, a lot of it is going to be theoretical and abstract for a little while, right? I mean, because of all of the changes and the impact on consumers, there is always that element of how are consumers going to react to X, Y, and Z. We've seen that over and over again in the past. So just continuing to keep a pulse on that. How is the consumer reacting? What, if anything, should you do as a brand to react to that? And then, are there ways you can be proactive? Or can you build some of these strategic practices into your approach in your annual planning, your quarterly planning, whatever the case may be? And I know a lot of that is going to be fed by the results, right? I mentioned scorecarding before. We talked about MMM. So whatever the case may be, make sure that you gather that intelligence to guide the conversation and then just use that to lead.
And one more thing to note, don't
Yeah.
let your past experience or your biases from previous experiences affect what you're planning to do for the future. Things have evolved, things are maturing, things are getting better. And so it's always good to go back and retest and have, you know, you may learn something new that you can apply to your brands or to your brand. So it can continue to evolve your performance.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Brett, Jeff, again, thanks so much for your time today. Thanks everybody for the great questions that came in. look for a follow-up email from us. I would encourage everybody to have that follow-up conversation with Brett and the team at Blue Whale. They're all around fantastic people helping a ton of brands in the network out. Hit Jeff up on LinkedIn and then look for an email from me. I'd love to connect with you and just pick your brain, network, knowledge share. Hey, what are the next things that we should be covering in this network as a whole? With that, we're going to wrap up this webinar. Everybody take care, stay safe, and look forward to seeing you at the future event. Awesome. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Jeff. We'll see you.
See you all.
All right.